Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am just Mike. You are watching and you are listening to episode number 62 of The Rock Out Wild Show, where it is not just a show, it is a way of life. Now, if you are new to this video and if you are new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below this very video. You can also like or dislike this episode of the Rock Out Wild Show, what have you. And share this episode on all of your social media platforms, from your Facebook to your X to your Instagram to your Snapchat to your YouTube, what have you. Spread the word about the Rock Out Wild Show from your family to your friends to your co-workers to your acquaintances, and let everyone know what the Rock Out Wild Show is all about. As you see from the title of this very episode, the main event of this show will be St. Patrick's Day traditions that will bring you luck, but also a lot of fun as well. Now, seeing as St. Patrick's Day was technically yesterday, I thought that I would keep it going for an extra day and have it as a topic for the Rock Out Wild Show. So that will be the main event of this very episode. Also on the docket, we're going to take a look at On This Day in the world of wrestling, music, sports, film, and television for today's date, March the 18th. And to kick things off for episode number 62 of the Rock Out Wild Show, I'm going to react to an old movie review of mine from about 11 years ago, a movie called Outcast. And I do believe this is like a fantasy drama type of thing. And I remember Nicolas Cage being in this and being really goofy and silly. So that will be the opening topic. Now, before I get to that, I am going to open up the webcam and say hi to everyone and ask how everyone is doing watching this and listening to this later on Spotify. So without further ado, let's react. So I got the headphones ready. Let us present, share screen, make sure the audio is on. Perfect. Let's go to this review and share it. Let's go full screen. And looks like we're going to kick things off with a Nicolas Cage clip. We'll see how silly and goofy this actually is. I don't remember anything from this movie at all, but I will venture a guess that the amount of points I gave Outcast were to be roughly about 42 out of 100. So that's my estimate, 42 points out of 100. Let's, without further ado, let's react in 3, 2, 1, action.
She's good with a knife, eh, lad? But at one time, she had the most beautiful singing voice. But the gods cut out her tongue, blinded my right eye.
And let it be known that was the first time I actually used a clip of a movie as an intro. And you know you're in for a wild ride with this review. Let's move on.
Hey, what's up, and how's it going, all movie fans in the movieverse? Welcome to the Mike McRock Movie Review Show. Right now, I'm going to review a movie called Outcast, and this is an action-adventure samurai movie starring Nicolas Cage. Let that sink in.
Yep.
But really, this movie is about a mysterious warrior by the name of Jacob, who is played by Hayden Christensen, as he teams up with the daughter and son of a deposed Chinese emperor to defeat the cruel brother who seeks their deaths. Right. And this movie is just horrendously terrible.
Horrendously terrible.
No words can express how terrible this movie really truly is. If I were you, avoid this movie at all costs. But I will talk about this movie in a little bit of depth, but not very much. And like I said, this movie has two big names. You got Nicolas Cage, who is the over the top, cheesy, yet somehow really outstanding as he is working his craft. I
Mhm.
don't know how that happened. I think it just happened by accident, but I agree with a lot of people when I really feel their pain because what happened to Nicolas Cage? I mean, the last great movie he's done was probably Face Off, which was a long ass time ago, and he hasn't
Face
done
Off
a
is alright.
great movie since. And for some reason, he decided to do all these beat movies that are not all that great.
Although Con Air is a decent one as well. Oh, and I think I might be. I have to say this too. I was probably too kind when I predicted 42 points. I'm just saying.
With which that they have really lame and boring scripts, and for some
Yeah,
reason he's choosing these movies just for a paycheck.
pretty much.
That's what Nicolas Cage is there for. But at least he's not in this movie a whole heck of a lot. He's there first in the beginning, and then he comes back into the movie only around the 45-minute mark, and he's there for maybe at least 15 or 20 minutes throughout this movie. And
Mhm.
that's the only positive I can think of coming out of this movie is that at least Nicolas Cage is not in this movie a whole heck of a lot. But really, this movie is on the shoulders of Hayden Christensen, who I thought was really, really stale. He was very wooden throughout the
Mm.
entire performance. He's really boring. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Hayden Christensen in his acting, but that's pretty much it. Uh, he's not my cup of tea, I guess you could say.
he's also totally miscast in this movie. I would have picked someone a lot better to play this role. Maybe someone like Chris Hemsworth, who could
Yeah,
probably provide some
yeah,
depth to his character. But the problem is that I didn't see
yeah. And Chris Hemsworth is a funny guy too. I think Hemsworth would sell this movie a lot more than a Hayden Christensen at that point in 2015.
any character progression from beginning to end. All I saw was this guy who was just kind of drifting through life, just trying to go from one scene to another. He's either getting drunk or getting drugged, and then he ends up fighting the evil bad guy at the end. I just
Mm,
didn't buy into his character. I couldn't get into emotionally invested in this character at all, and his acting really didn't help either. And throughout this entire movie, you get a lot of these action scenes. Now, one of the complaints that I know a lot of people are talking about when it comes to action scenes is how they're choreographed
action scenes.
and how the cinematography is.
Mhm.
And with these action scenes, I feel like that this movie has no sense of style when it comes to the action sequences because they're just really hard to watch. I
They
feel
are.
like
They
that
are.
there were moments where you know what was happening throughout the entire action scenes, but there was also moments where you kind of don't know what's happening. It's
Yeah.
really hit and miss, and I feel like that if this movie would have flowed better with the action scenes, I would probably give it a lot more points. Uh, so with that being said, I just can't get in. I just couldn't get into this movie entirely at all.
Hmm.
The script was very lame. The acting was very lame. Even the Chinese people that were in the movie as well. I mean, they speak perfect English in a movie where it's based in China.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Something's off there.
I agree.
This is a bad movie, and like I said, avoid this movie, please. Do not watch this movie. This movie is so terrible and so much of a stink pile. To me, it felt like it took 10 flushes to get the stink out of the toilet. And with that being said, this movie delivered 10
Oh,
points out of
oh,
100. Please
another
don't
one.
see this movie. Don't. Just don't. But if you already did see this movie, what did you think about it? Feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below and give me your thoughts about Outcast. And you can also hit that subscribe button as well to get Mick Rocks.
She's good with it now, eh, lad?
Of course, I had to use the outro with the same clip. Again, first time I ever done that for a movie, but it was there to prove a point. I mean, Nicolas Cage is one of the single most over the top actors in Hollywood of all time. You could say that might be a good thing, or you could say that as a bad thing, depending where you land with Cage as an actor. What do I think of Nicolas Cage? He's hilarious in an over the top, funny, cheesy way. That's what I think of Nicolas Cage, the actor. As for the person, that's a different story altogether. But that was my take on the movie Outcast. I was 32 points off. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I totally forget which movie it was, and someone can probably let me know what that movie was in the comment section, where I gave like an incredibly low score, like a 15 or 10 points out of 100. Again, with this Outcast, 10 points out of 100. Yeah. If I see this on a TV guide in 2026 is non existent, but you get the idea. If I see it somewhere, I will pass and watch something else. And there you go. So that was my reaction and my retrospective on the movie Outcast from 2015. Now let's take a look at what happened in a segment I like to call On This Day. And we're going to start with wrestling. So let's present, share screen, and let's see what happened in years past in wrestling from March 18th. Here is a picture of Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman on the right. So let's see what happened. In 1985, Ivan and Nikita Koloff won the NWA World Tag Team Championship over Dusty Rhodes and Manny Fernandez in Fayetteville, North Carolina. In 1995, ECW Warfare was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In a gauntlet match, Tommy Dreamer beat Tony Sitton, Johnny Hotbody, and Stevie Richards before losing the match to Raven. Quote the Raven, nevermore. Elsewhere on the card, Too Cold Scorpio defeated Dean Malenko to win the ECW World Television Championship, and in the main event, Terry Funk and the Sandman were victorious against Cactus Jack and Shane Douglas. In 2001, in Jacksonville, Florida, WCW held Greed, their last ever pay-per-view before being bought out by the WWF later in the week. The championship matches on the show were as follows. Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo defeated the Filthy Animals, who are Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio Jr., in a tournament final to win the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship, with Romeo getting the pinfall on Mysterio. Shane Helms defeated Chavo Guerrero Jr. to win the WCW World Cruiserweight Championship for the first time. Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire defeated totally buffed Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger in less than a minute to retain the WCW World Tag Team Championships. Following outside assistance for Shane Douglas, Booker T defeated Rick Steiner via pinfall to win the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. And Scott Steiner, who's fat, defeated Diamond Dallas Page in a false count anywhere match to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. In 2002, the night after WrestleMania 18, WWF Monday Night Raw was in Montreal, Quebec. The show is most famous for the debut of Brock Lesnar interfering in a hardcore match between Maven and Al Snow. Lesnar took out both men before delivering 3 victorious power bombs to an unfortunate Spike Dudley. In the main event of the show, Hulk Hogan and The Rock teamed up to beat the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, via countouts. In 2005, Hustle Pay-Per-View 8 was held at New Sumo Hall, Ojiko Koyachikan, Tokyo. Only one title was on the line, the Hustle Hardcore Hero title, and it was won Maso Tanka, who was victorious in a Hardcore Battle Royal. In 2006, WWE brought back Saturday night's main event. The NBC broadcast was main evented by a Shane McMahon victory over Shawn Michaels. The victory was a reenactment of the famous Montreal Screwjob, oh Christ, with Vince McMahon calling for the bell while Shane held Michaels in the sharpshooter. Yep, nothing is sacred in wrestling. I'll give it that. In 2012, in Berwyn, Illinois, Shimmer held their Volume 47 and 48 shows back-to-back. Akio Hamada and Hayumi Korea became the new Shimmer Tag Team Championships. I'm sorry if I butchered their names too. After beating Leon and Ray on Shimmer 47, then on Shimmer 48, Courtney Rush and Sarah Del Rey defeated Akio Hamada and Anuwamai Kurahara, Regeneration X, Allison Danger and Leva Bates, and the Canadian Ninjas, Nicole Matthews and Parita Perez, in a 4-corner team elimination tag team match to win the Shimmer tag team titles. Also on Shimmer 48, Saria Knight defeated cheerleader Melissa to become the new Shimmer World Champion. In 2012, TNA Victory Road was held in the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. On the show, in the number 1 contenders match, the Cowboy James Storm beat Bully Ray by pinfall in just over a minute. Austin Aries retained the TNA X Division title against Sima Ion, who is now, I can't remember his name anyway. Let's move on. Magnus and Samoa Joe retained the tag team belts against Crimson and Matt Morgan. Devon became the new TNA Television Championship after beating Robbie E via pinfall, and Robbie E is still going on television on NXT as we speak. At least that's what I'm thinking. The TNA Knockouts Championship was retained by Gail Kim against challenger Matt Rain. AJ Styles and Mr. Anderson beat Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian via pinfall after Styles hit Kazarian with the Styles Clash. Kurt Angle defeated Jeff Hardy by pinfall, and in the main event, the pride of Peterborough himself, Bobby Roode, beat Sting in a no-holds-barred match to keep hold of the TNA World Championship. And in 2017, new March Mayhem is held at the Port Jervis High School in New York. In the main event of the night, Cody Rhodes became the new heavyweight champion after beating Mike Bennett. We have some notable wrestling birthdays in the world of wrestling. From March 18th, we have Ethan Carter III, EC3, was born on this day in 1983. Mike Quatenbush was born on this day in 1976. Born on March 18th, 1971. Mike Bell. And we have Rick the Model Martel, was born on this day in 1956. And born on this day in 1926, March 18th, Lance Russell. And those are the highlights of what happened in the world of wrestling for March the 18th. Now let's take a look to see what happened in the world for music in years past on March 18th. Rock and roll pioneer Chuck Berry dies on this day, March 18th, 2017. Rock and roll pioneer Chuck Berry passed away at the old age of 90. He lived a good long life, I think. Born Charles Edward Anderson Berry in St. Louis, Missouri, Berry forged a distinctive style that married rhythm and blues with country music. Between 1955 and 1964, he racked up 22 hits on the U.S. R&B chart, including the number 1 Maybelline, School Day, and Sweet Little 16. Barry's best-selling single was 1972's My Ding-a-Ling, which topped both the Hot 100 and the UK singles chart. Yeah, that's right. Chuck Berry had a song in 1972 called My Ding-a-Ling. Take that as you will, and take that out of context. Let's move on. My Ding-a-Ling. Oh my god. Anyway, in 2001, 65-year-old John Phillips of the Mamas and Papas had passed away of heart failure. Born in Northern California, Phillips was the folk rock group's principal arranger and songwriter, co-authorizing their iconic hit, California Dreamin'. He also wrote Scott McKenzie's 1967 UK chart topper, San Francisco, Be Sure to Wear Flowers in Your Hair, and was one of the main organizers of the Monterey Pop Festival. In 1978, the Gibb Brothers claims the top 3 spots on the Billboard Hot 100. The Bee Gees single Night Fever was at number 1, while their younger brother Andy Gibb occupied the number 2 spot with Love Is Thicker Than Water, which he has co-written with elder brother Barry. In the number 3 position was Samantha Sing's Emotion, written and produced by the Bee Gees. So the Bee Gees really took over the year 1978. You could say that they're staying alive. In 1989, the London-based production team Stock, Atkin, and Waterman had 3 singles in the UK top 5. Jason Donovan's Too Many Broken Hearts, Panorama's Help, and Donna Summer's This Time I Know It's For Real. In their 10 years together, the trio racked up more than 100 UK top 40 hits. In 2013, David Bowie's 25th album The Next Day became the UK's fastest selling title of the year when it debuted at number 1 on the official charts. It was the 66-year-old singer's 9th chart-topping UK album and his first number 1 since 1993's Black Tie, White Noise. And no, I would not consider that a racist term. In 1967, well, because it's Black Tie, White Noise. You get it? Got it? Good. In 1967, the New Musical Express announced that ex-Spencer Davis Group member Steve Winwood was forming a new band called Traffic. In June of that year, the group debuted in the UK charts with the single Paper Sun. And in 1972, Neil Young scored his sole number 1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 with Heart of Gold. The song, which remained at the top for 3 weeks, was taken from the Canadian artist's 4th album, Harvest, which reached number 1 in both the US and the UK. We have some birthdays here for March 18th. Let's take a look here. Born on this day in 1938, Charlie Pride. I'm not going to say anything more. In 1941, March 18th, was born Wilson Pickett. Chucky West was born on this day in 1945. Irene Cara was born on this day in 1959. Born on March 18th, 1961. Grant Hart from Husker Du. Vanessa Williams was born on 1963. From Alice in Chains, Jerry Cantrell was born in 1966. Born on March 18th, 1970, Queen Latifah. Born on this day on March 18th, 1979, Adam Levine from Maroon 5. At least I don't see him taking his shirt off anymore, and that's a plus. And on this day, March 18th, was born 1986, Licky Lee. And those are all the events, well, the big events that happened in the world of music for March 18th. Now let's take a look at what happened for March 18th in the world of sports. Nothing but sports. So let's continue on. In 1875, 37th Grand National, Tommy Pickernell, that's the last name, Pickernell, wins his 3rd GN aboard 106 Chance Pathfinder. In 1876, English FA Cup final replay, Kennington Oval, London. Wanderers beat Old Etonians 3-0 after initial 1-1 draw. Wanderers' third title. In 1892, Lord Stanley presents Silver Challenge Cup for hockey, the Stanley Cup. In 1900, Ajax Soccer Club forms in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, named after legendary Greek hero. In 1910, 72nd Grand National, Bob Chadwick wins award 108 Jamestown, earliest Grand National to win, to which there are moving images. In 1918, soccer team Son of Merson forms. In 1921, 80th Grand National, Fred Reese wins aboard 109, beats Sean Spandish. Winner is only horse to complete the course without falling. In 1930, Boston Bruins win record 20th NHL home game. In 1932, 91st Grand National, Tim Hammy wins aboard 50-1 outsider Forba. In 1933, U.S. Ladies Figure Skating Championship won by Maribel Vinson. In 1939, England beats Scotland 9-6 and Murrayfield Edinburgh to force a share of the home nation's rugby championship with Wales and Ireland. In 1942, two black players, Jackie Robinson and Nate Moreland, request a tryout with the Chicago White Sox and are not allowed to work out. That's very telling, especially in those days. In 1945, Montreal Canadian Maurice Rocket Richards. If you know, you know. Maurice Richard becomes the first NHLer to score 50 goals. In 1951, LPGA title holders championship women's golf, Augusta. Pat O'Sullivan wins her only major title by 2 strokes from fellow amateur Beverly Hanson. In 1953, 15th NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. India beats Kansas 69-68. Jayhawk center B.H. Bourne is named Tournament Most Outstanding Player. Also in 1953, MLB National League approves Boston Braves move to Milwaukee for shift since 1903. In 1958, MLB Los Angeles Dodgers announced their mascot and clown Emmett Kelly will not perform in 1958. In 1959, Boston Celtics Bill Sharman begins record of 56 straight free throws. In 1970, NFL selects Wilson as official football and scoreboard as official time. In 1972, Cornell NCAA hockey team shutout for first time in 225 games, Boston U. In 1978, Wales beats France 16-7 at the National Stadium. Cardiff declines its 20th outright Five Nations Rugby Championship, a record 8th Grand Slam and record third consecutive Triple Crown. In 1981, Buffalo Sabres set NHL record of 9 goals in one period versus Toronto. Hooray, I mentioned Toronto! That's where I'm from! In 1985, Commissioner Peter Uberth resonates Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. Good on him, because Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle are 2 great baseball players, no doubt. In 1986, exciting draw in final gives NSW the Sheffield Shield over Queensland. In 1989, Dino Cicilline sets Washington Capitals record of 7 points in a game. In 1990, 32-day lockout by baseball owners ends. Also in 1990, a Tampa Little Leaguer passes away after being struck by a pitch. Oh my God, I can't. In 1990, PGA Players Championship, TPC adds Sawgrass. Jody Mudd wins by 1 stroke ahead of runner-up Mark Calavachulia. Calcavcia. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. That is horrendously mispronounced. I know. Winners check $270,000. In 1991, Mike Tyson beats Razor Ruddock in the 7th round. In 1991, also, Philadelphia 76ers retires Wilt Chamberlain's number 13 jersey. In 1991, also, Reggie Miller, Indiana Pacers, ends NBA free throw streak of 52 games. In 1995, in a final round title decider, England beats Scotland 24-12 at Twickenham to claim the Five Nations Rugby Championship, Grand Slam, Triple Crown, and Collector Cup. In 1995, Michael Jordan announces he is ending his 17-month NBA retirement. In 1996, 50,000 swimmers raised $15 million for charity during BT's Swimathon in 1996. In the year 2000, when We Will Make It Up to You, England clinched inaugural Six Nations Rugby Championship with 59-12 thrashing of Italy at Stadio Flamino, Rome, England. Fly half Johnny Wilkinson kicked 7 goals, and winger Austin Healy scores 3 tries. In 2006, France wins Six Nations Rugby Championship on points difference over Ireland, with a 21-16 win over Wales at Millennium Stadium. Cardiff, Ireland receives consolation prize of the Triple Crown Trophy. In 2007, former England Test cricket batsman and Pakistan coach Bob Woolmer is found dead one day after his team's defeat to Ireland puts them out of the World Cup in the West Indies. Cause of death remains suspicious. In 2012, Super League Greece football match between Olympiacos and Pathodikinos is abandoned after fans set fire to Athens Olympic Stadium. In 2014, Phil Jackson signs a 5-year contract to be president of the New York Knicks. In 2018, Portuguese soccer superstar Cristiano Ronaldo records his 50th career hat trick in Real Madrid's 6-3 win over Granollers. In 2019, 40-year-old Dallas Mavericks forward Dirk Nowitzki overtakes Wilt Chamberlain to go 6th with 31,424 points on the NBA scorers list. Mavs suffer 129-125 OT loss to New Orleans Pelicans. And those are all the events that happened on this day in the world of sports for March 18th. And for the final installment on this day, we're going to take a look at film and television for March the 18th in years past. In 1924, silent film classic The Thief of Baghdad, based on 1001 Nights, starring Douglas Fairbanks and directed by Raoul Walsh, is released. In 1948, Phillips began experimental TV broadcasting. In 1949, WGAL TV Channel 8 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania begins broadcasting. In 1953, KGNC, now KAMR TV Channel 4 in Amarillo, Texas, begins broadcasting. In 1957, WTWV, now WTVA TV Channel 9 in Tupelo, Columbus, begins. In 1963, WGSF TV Channel 31 in Newark, Ohio, begins broadcasting. In 1965, American garage rock band The Standals guest star in Far Out Monsters episode of American TV sitcom The Munsters. In 1968, WVER TV Channel 28 in Rutland VT begins broadcasting. And also in 1968, WVTA TV channel 41 in Windsor begins broadcasting. In 1970, KAEC TV channel 19 in Lufkin, Texas suspends broadcasting. In 1982, 8th People's Choice Awards, Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, and Jane Fonda win Motion Picture, and Alan Alda and Barbara Mandrell win TV. In 1985, Capital Cities Communications Inc. Incorporated acquires ABC for $3.5 billion in the first transfer of ownership of a TV network. And then in 1992, American pop singer Donna Summer gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 1993, Wendy Wasserton stage play The Sisters Rosewig starring Madeline Kahn opens at the Ithiel Barrymore Theater in New York City for 556 performances. In 1994, Zaza Gabor files for bankruptcy. In 2005, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody premieres on the Disney Channel starring Dylan and Cole Sprouse. In 2021, U.S. President Joe Biden agrees Russian President Vladimir Putin is a killer in ABC News interview. Putin responds, "It takes one to know one," a day later. Politics in the world of film and television. Yeah, that just happened. And those are the events that happened on this day in the world of film and television for March the 18th. And I do believe it is about that time for the main event for episode number 62 of the Rock Out Wild Show. And even though technically yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to keep the St. Patrick's tradition going on this Wednesday. So, I have an article here from Reader's Digest, and it's called the 20 St. Patrick's Day Traditions That Will Bring You Luck or Just a Whole Lot of Fun. So what I'm going to do is present, share screen, and we'll actually go over this article. And as you see is a picture, the good old Luck of the Irish type of stuff here for St. Patrick's Day. If anyone celebrates this holiday, hats off to you. And it's also one I practice as well. I think I have a green shirt or a blue shirt in my closet. We'll explain about the blue shirt close to the end of this topic. But so these are 20 traditions of St. Patrick's Day that will bring you luck. This was written by Tina Donvito on February the 23rd of this year on Reader's Digest. And let's see what we have here. So no plans for St. Patrick's Day yet? No worries. You just found your pot of gold, whether you're all about parades and parties or just looking for a fun excuse to wear green on March 17th. There are plenty of meaningful and memorable ways to celebrate. We've rounded up St. Patrick's Day traditions that go beyond the usual cliches. These are ideas that work whether you're hosting a family dinner or rallying your coworkers and friends for a little festive fun. And to make sure you're not just celebrating, but actually understanding the why behind it all, we spoke to Christine Keenly, director of Ireland's Great Hunger Institute at Quinnipiac University. Her insights help unpack how the customs evolved and why they still resonate today. Pull out your brightest green and let's get this started. So here are coming St. Patrick's Day traditions from the Reader's Digest. Eating Irish food, celebrating Irish culture, looking for four-leaf clovers, wearing green, pitching those in not in green, drowning the shamrock in whiskey, kissing someone Irish, dyeing things green, baking soda bread, and attending a parade. So we have this thing right here. looks like some sort of muffin of some kind. Letting the devil out of Irish soda bread. So it's Irish soda bread that we just saw here. It says there are many variations of Irish soda bread in America, but the traditional Irish version calls for just 4 ingredients: flour, often wholemeal flour, baking soda, called bread soda in Ireland, buttermilk, and salt. Historically, the recipe could be made by anyone thanks to a readily available ingredients, and because it could be cooked in a cast iron pot over a flame instead of an oven, which most people didn't have back in the day. But for the bread to be lucky, you have to cut a cross on the top to let the devil out. Looking at Charlie Pride, as well as to release steam during cooking. A superstition held by both the Irish and Irish Americans in both Christian and pagan traditions. The cross is meant to ward off the devil and protect the household. Kinley explains, but the baking of soda bread was not really a custom until the late 1800s. And then we have wearing green. Of the luckiest St. Patrick's Day traditions, it's super simple. Just don the color green. The hue symbolizes Ireland's lush landscape and why the Chicago River turns green on St. Patrick's Day too. Ireland itself is even known as the Green Isle on the Emerald Isle, Kinley says. But Americans might be surprised to learn that the color also has a political history. The wearing of green was a political and cultural identity movement in Ireland and a stand against British colonialism. The Irish ballad wearing of the green laments the unsuccessful rebel uprising of 1798, and the color remains symbolic for Irish nationalism leading up to the country's independence in 1922. In the Irish flag, which was the first brought to Ireland in 1848, the green is the tricolor, represents Catholics, Kinley says. And if you're learning, and if you're leaning into the tradition, you can have a little fun with it too. Whether that means pulling on your favorite green sweater or topping things off with a DIY leprechaun hat for an extra festive touch. And there's the leprechaun right there. Pitching those, not wearing green is another practice as well. Legend has it that leprechauns can't see you if you're wearing the verdant color, and that if they do see you, they will pinch you. Likewise, tradition says you can pinch someone on St. Patrick's Day who isn't wearing green, but this may be more of an Americanization than a true Irish custom. In fact, in Irish folklore, leprechauns originally wore red. That is interesting. Pinching those not wearing green appears to be an American invention, says Kinley. That said, you may want to make sure you're protected by wearing something green. So wear green on St. Patrick's Day, even though I'm saying this a day behind. I'm just saying. Kissing someone who's Irish. Now, no doubt you've heard the phrase, kiss me, I'm Irish, or at least seen it on a t-shirt. Where did the tradition come from? Although there appears to be no definitive source, the prevailing theory is that it refers to kissing the Blarney Stone in Ireland, so kissing an Irish person is the next best thing. But although modern Americans might consider the Irish lucky, that may not be historically accurate. The saying, the luck of the Irish, is not of the Irish origin. Knowing the history, Ireland was typically unlucky. In addition to the Great Hunger, the Irish poor witnessed many periods of starvation. When they immigrated to America, they were discriminated against, and there were many stereotypes surrounding them. Still, Irish pride, or an Irish American pride, may rub off on you on St. Patrick's Day, no matter your heritage. Drowning the shamrock. So you have to drown the shamrock as you see in the picture right there. One of the most famous good luck charms is the shamrock. Ken Shamrock? I'm just saying. Legend has it that the good luck of the three-leaf plant began where it was a revered pagan symbol. The missionary St. Patrick's is said to have later used in the three leaves to explain the Holy Trinity to the pagans. Whether he actually did so is up for debate. Today, however, the shamrock remains a secular token of good fortune, especially the elusive four-leaf clover. In Ireland, it's considered lucky to drown the shamrock. Traditionally, the shamrock was dunked into a glass of whiskey. The whiskey was then drunk, and the shamrock at the bottom of the glass thrown over the drinker's left shoulder. Allegedly, it was St. Patrick himself who first dunked the shamrock in a glass of whiskey after wearing it during his feast day. But this is highly unlikely as he died before the day was celebrated. Whiskey in the jar, oh yeah. Great cover, by the way. And we see it looks like some sort of race for a race of the Irish and in different clothes. Interesting. Joining a St. Patrick's Day dash. So that's what it is. Who would have thought that running a race would become a St. Patrick's Day tradition? Held on or around March 17th, these festive events, I should say, range from competitive 5Ks and half marathons to laid back fun runs and family friendly walks, so everyone, kids included, can join in. From big cities including Boston and Chicago to small towns across the country, St. Patrick's Day races have become annual gatherings that bring communities together. Decked out in shamrocks, toots, and leprechaun hats, participants turn the streets into a sea of green and often raise money for local charities. Putting up St. Patrick's Day decorations like this one. I know I've seen that at work, and so that is a thing that we do here as well in Canada. Like any other holiday, St. Patrick's Day deserves to be celebrated with festive decor, kind of like Christmas, Halloween, Easter, what have you. So St. Patrick's Day is really no different than any other holiday, as it should. Bring up all the decorations, if you will. So think shamrock banners, Irish flags, pops of gold, and of course lots and lots of green. Sure, there are plenty of options to buy online, but it's easy and fun to make some decorations yourself, especially when wee ones are involved. Kids can make do-it-yourself decorations with garland and glitter, design in leprechaun-inspired costume or craft, handmade accessories to wear to celebrations and parades. It's a fun, hands-on way to add some personality to your celebration and make a few core memories along the way. Baking St. Patrick's Day treats like cookies with that green on top. I know I've had these kind of cookies in the past, and they are really, really delicious, I think. They are really good. So make it a family tradition to whip up green cupcakes, cookies, or brownies, then decorate them with a four-leaf clover or green and gold sprinkles up on top. You can even make your own shamrock shake or Oreo shamrock McFlurry with some minty ice cream, Oreos and whipped cream as well. It says, trust us, whatever you choose will be creative, Instagram worthy, and guaranteed to disappear fast once it hits the table. Reading the book, obviously. Sharing Irish blessings. And it says here, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. This is just one of the many Irish blessings to read and share on the big day. These insightful quotes, which date back to the Celtic times, have been cherished for centuries and really make you think. They also make great toasts for your big night out. And while you're at it, These St. Patrick's Day jokes, which would be a link right there, and puns would really get the party started. Maybe next year I'll go over St. Patrick's Day jokes for the Rock Out Wild show. We'll see. Learning Irish dances. Me, I have some rhythm. I know how to dance. So learning an Irish dance could probably be easy for me. Maybe not for a lot of people. But it says here, learn on an Irish jig this year, and showing off your moves will be a St. Patrick's Day tradition for years to come. If you watch the St. Patrick's Day parade, you're sure to see this type of dancing, where dancers point their toes out, hop up, and bring their right leg up to their left knee, and vice versa. Irish dances may have originated from an Irish clan marching tune, and Irish dancing may have ties to early forms of Celtic dance. Celts were also said to have danced clockwise in circles on happy occasions and anti-clockwise when mourning, according to Celtic steps. They often included movements which involved repeated tapping of the feet on this one spot. Watching Irish movies also is a big thing. If the couch is more of your speed on St. Patrick's Day, there's a beefy of Irish movies worth your while. We're talking award winners In the Name of the Father and My Left Foot, deep dives into history, Hunger in the Wind That Shakes the Barley, and Lighter Fairer, The Commitments, and Sing Street. Oh, love Sing Street, by the way. That's a great, really good movie. And there are plenty for kids too as well. You'll also notice some of your favorite Irish actors popping up again and again in these films, including Daniel Day-Lewis, Cillian Murphy, Jamie Dornan, Colin Farrell, and Liam Neeson. Their performances and the stories they tell will stay with you long after the credits roll. Looking for leprechauns is another as well. Catching leprechauns is more challenging than you think. Writes blogger Zena of Let's Lotso the Moon in her blog post about. Yes, catching leprechauns. Kids can make their very own leprechaun traps using a cardboard box and random art supplies found at home. That actually sounds like fun. Create a small pot of gold using chocolate coins, a DIY a rainbow, then add glitter, glue, a makeshift trip, wire with sticky tape, and whatever else you can think of to trap that tricky leprechaun. We have a pot of gold there. Finding a pot of gold as kids as well. Well, when it comes to these holidays, especially ones like Christmas and Easter, it's really all about the kids, and it's no different with St. Patrick's Day. It says here about finding a pot of gold. Kids will especially love the St. Patrick's Day tradition, going on a thrilling quest to find their very own pot of gold. Legend has it that the mischievous leprechauns hid the treasure at the end of the rainbow where it touches the earth. You can easily recreate the excitement with a treasure hunt by using chocolate coins or even lottery tickets. Irish potatoes or any other treats that will make your family feel lucky when they're discovered. And what else do we have here? Noshing on Irish potatoes. Not a big fan of Irish potatoes, but you know what? To each their own. Irish potatoes are a time-honored Philadelphia tradition that has been spreading joy for more than a century. Even if you're not in Philly, you can enjoy these delightful candy spuds made with coconut cream and coated with cinnamon. Okay, maybe I would like those. I don't know if I ever actually had them, but I was just the way that picture was showed, it really doesn't look appealing at all to me at all. I don't know if I might like Irish potatoes actually. It says here you'll typically find these Irish potatoes in candy stores, gift shops, and supermarkets during the holiday. While the exact history behind their creation is not known, some have guessed they are meant to uh, commemorates the Irish potato famine, which lasted from 1845 to 1851. So I'm guessing the Irish potatoes have been made eons ago, and I mean eons ago. We've got the four-leaf clover. So looking for a four-leaf clover is also a big tradition as well for St. Patrick's Day. Shamrocks, which have three leaves, and the more elusive four-leaf clover may both be good luck symbols, but they are not the same thing. Biologically speaking, four-leaf clovers are extremely rare. Usually they only have three clovers, and a fourth clover is a mutation. Uh, there are likely 10,000 three-leaf clovers for every four-leaf clover. That's a wild stat right there. As Scientific American explains, using those odds, you'd need to scan a clover field of about 13 square feet to find one four-leaf clover. Totally doable though. And instead of counting each leaf, try scanning the clovers quickly. Your brain will be able to notice deviations in the pattern you see. Give it a try and incorporate it to your St. Patrick's Day traditions. If you manage to find one, you'll feel super lucky. It almost sounds like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack, too. Might give it a try. At least I'm good at concentration. And you have a bunch of people attending some sort of festival of some kind. Yeah, parade. Attending a St. Patrick's Day parade is another St. Patrick's Day tradition as well. It says here, seeing bagpipers. I love. I just want to point this out right here before I continue. I love the bagpipes. The bagpipes to me make an amazing sound. I love the sound of bagpipes. That will never get annoying for me, no matter how much you play it. I love bagpipes. And that's probably the Scottish in me, but it's probably what it is. So, yeah, I have Scottish roots, but also Irish roots as well, talking about St. Patrick's Day. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? So, seeing bagpipers marching past the crowd wearing green and waving mini Irish flags seems like one of the most quintessential St. Patrick's Day traditions for those lucky enough to experience it. However, this is another tradition that actually originated in the United States, or rather the American colonies, which is interesting, isn't it? Not Scotland, not Ireland, the good old USA. Who would have thought? One of the first St. Patrick's Day parades is thought to have taken place in New York City in 1762 amongst Irish soldiers serving in the British Army before the Revolutionary War. Later, when Irish immigrants who have flocked to the U.S. during the Great Famine in the 19th century were discriminated against in their new home, they used the parades to encourage and support pride in their heritage and culture. The American St. Patty's celebration were a way for the Irish diaspora to connect with their homeland, even for subsequent generations who had never been there. And of course, not eating green food is another tradition. Dime food or beer or anything else. Green is one example of how St. Patrick's Day is celebrated around the world. But green food dye isn't a St. Patrick's Day tradition in Ireland because green food has some decidedly unlucky associations in the country's history. Green food is not an Irish tradition, possibly due to the historical trauma of the Great Famine, when Irish folk literally had no choice but to eat grass in an attempt to survive, then would often die of starvation with green colored mouths from eating grass. So that's where the expression "go eat grass" comes from. American celebration of St. Patrick's Day likely use green food and drink to celebrate the greenness of Ireland. For example, the Emerald Isle. So maybe forgot So maybe forget the green beer. If you want to embellish the Irish way, sample some Guineas instead. So we were closed on a obviously on a door there. Staying sober is should be a tradition on any day that doesn't have to be St. Patrick's Day as well. So St. Patrick's Day in Ireland is not traditionally the vicarious celebration it is in America, and it might bring you better fortune if you don't use the holiday to overindulge. St. Patrick's Day falls during Lent, a religious season of sacrifice, although the rules were traditionally relaxed for the feast day. Up until the 1970s, however, pubs were closed in Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, and celebrations usually included a trip to church. So that picture you saw there is obviously a picture of a pub with the closed sign on it. So how and where did St. Patrick's Day become a drinking holiday? Right here in the USA. Well, not here technically because I'm in Canada, but that's what it says. St. Patrick's Day became a drinking holiday in the USA, with Irish American celebrations, which soon came to perpetuate the stereotype of the drunken Irish. Then, in a strange reversal of tradition, the Irish government was actually inspired by American celebrations to create a multi-day St. Patrick's Festival in 1995 to boost tourism. Who would have thought? But not everyone is happy about the associations between St. Patrick's Day and drinking. There is a large movement to stop associating the day and the Irish with drinking, and now a number of sober parades. It looks like bacon on a plate with a fork right next to it. That's what it looks like. And of course it is. Eating Irish bacon. Although there might be nothing that seems more Irish than eating corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day, this meal is actually not an Irish tradition at all. Corned beef on St. Patrick's Day is an American adaptation. In Ireland of yore, it would have been unlucky to kill cows, which were mainly used for dairy. In Gaelic Ireland, cattle were symbols of the wealthy and were only killed when they were too old or were no longer able to produce milk. Kinley says, there were more pigs kept in Ireland than cows, so more pork and bacon were consumed than beef. Home of the Whopper, what's your beef? It's a good question. On St. Patrick's Day, cured pork, Irish bacon, was more likely to be eaten in Ireland. So how did the corned beef association come about? Well, Irish immigrants in America may have adopted the meal from their Jewish neighbors. Who would have thought? Wearing blue for historical accuracy. So instead of green, you could also celebrate Ireland by wearing blue. Ah, blue, da ba dee da boo da, da ba dee da boo da, da ba dee da boo da. Okay, I'll quit now. Where are my 90s kids at? Anyone? So instead of green, you can also celebrate Ireland by wearing blue, the background color of the first coat of arms, when the Kingdom of Ireland was created by England's King Henry VIII. I'm Henry VIII, I am. Henry VIII, I am, I am. The hue also has earlier links to a figure in Irish mythology, Faithless Iran, who wore blue. Early images of St. Patrick show him wearing blue. Later, the Order of St. Patrick Knighthood also wore blue. Even today, the national color of Ireland is blue, St. Patrick's blue, Kinley says. The color appears on the Constitution of Ireland and the presidential standard flag, as in the old coat of arms, a golden harp on a dark blue background. So wearing blue for historical accuracy instead of green. You know what? Why not have a shirt with a mix of green and blue? Is food for thought. So that was the article on the 20 St. Patrick's Day traditions that will bring you luck or just a whole lot of fun. And that was the main event for episode 62 of the Rock Out Wild Show. I'm going to leave you all with a quote, and it goes something like this. Be kind. In a world that is often feels chaotic and harsh, kindness is a light that shines bright. Every small act of kindness has the power to create ripples of positivity that can touch hearts and inspire others. Whether it's a smile to a stranger, a kind word to a friend, or a helping hand to someone in need, your kindness matters. It can make someone's day a little brighter. Bring comfort to a weary soul and remind others that there is still goodness in the world. So embrace kindness in all that you do. Let it guide your actions, your words, and your thoughts. And remember, kindness is not a weakness, but a strength that could truly make a difference in someone's life. I am your host, Just Mike, and this has been episode number 62 of the Rock Out Wild Show. And on a final note, to all of you watching and listening to this all around the world, get plenty of rest and always do your best.